Imagine this. At first, he was everything. The good morning texts, the compliments, the way he looked at you like you were the most precious thing in the world. He made you feel safe, special, like maybe, just maybe, this was the real thing. You let your guard down. You gave him your trust, your time, your heart. You believed every sweet word he whispered. And then, just like that, he changed. The texts got slower. The calls stopped. Suddenly, the man who once lit up when he saw you now barely acknowledges your presence. He's distant, cold, indifferent. He acts like you're a burden, like your emotions are too much, like he's doing you a favor by being in your life at all. One day, you were his queen. Now, you're treated like a doormat. And the worst part, you let it happen. And oh, don't tell me this. You think this is love? You think this is just how relationships go? Oh, my lady, how wrong you are. This isn't love. This is manipulation. This is a man who saw the way your eyes sparkled when he gave you attention and decided he could use that against you. This is a man who took your kindness, your softness, and made it into his personal playground. He doesn't care about your heart. He cares about control. And you've bent over backward trying to fix it. You've overthought every text, changed your behavior, walked on eggshells, hoping that if you just do everything right, he'll go back to the man he used to be. Let me shatter that illusion right now. That man never existed. The version of him that made you feel loved. That was a mask, a performance, a carefully crafted act to reel you in so he could sit back and watch you break yourself trying to please him. And you played right into it. You sacrificed your self-worth for a man who wouldn't even cross the street for you. You cried yourself to sleep over someone who sleeps just fine, knowing he hurt you. You put him on a pedestal while he treated you like an afterthought. Enough. It's time to wake up. Stop it, Queen. Stop lowering yourself for someone who clearly doesn't see your worth. Is that the kind of woman you want to be? A second option? A backup plan? Hell no. You deserve more, but first, you have to act like it. So, stay right here. Press that like button and hit subscribe, because you're about to step into the version of yourself that no one dares to lose. Let's get into it. Now please listen to, do you want to know the worst thing you can do to a man like this? Stop reacting. Stop giving him the attention, the tears, the emotional outbursts he thrives on. Take back your power. When he ignores you, ignore him harder. When he tries to bait you with breadcrumbs, don't bite. When he circles back after realizing you're no longer desperate for his approval, laugh in his face. Confuse him, break the cycle, stop being predictable. Make him wonder why his usual tactics aren't working. Because here's the truth. Men like him don't leave women. They just put them on the shelf until they need an ego boost. Do not be his shelf girl. Be the one who walks away and never looks back. The moment you choose yourself, you become the one thing he never expected. Untouchable. And let me tell you something, nothing terrifies a man more than a woman who realizes her worth. So write this in the comments right now. I am done being a doormat. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Because this is the moment you take your power back. This is the moment you stop waiting for him to care. Stop hoping he'll change. Stop making excuses for behavior that has crushed your spirit. Write it. Because the second you type those words, you're making a statement. Not just to me, not just to the world, but to yourself. You're saying, I refuse to be used. I refuse to be discarded. I refuse to let a man dictate my worth. Believe it. Because when you truly believe in your own value, you stop tolerating less than you deserve. You stop begging for love that should be freely given. You stop making room in your heart for someone who has only ever taken from you. And live it. Because your actions from this moment forward must match your words. No more chasing, no more over-explaining, no more waiting by the phone for a man who wouldn't even blink if you disappeared. So, my queens, this is your turning point. So, write it. Scream it in the comments. Let it be the first step toward the woman you were always meant to be. I am done being a doormat. And stay with me, because we're just getting started. Your comeback begins now. Number 1. They can't dim your flame without your permission. At first, he made you feel like the sun itself. The way he looked at you, the way he spoke, like you were the brightest thing in his sky. He soaked up your warmth, basked in your light, made you feel like you were the center of his universe. And then, he switched. Suddenly your sunshine became too much. Your light, once beautiful to him, was now inconvenient. He started pulling away, growing colder. The texts became shorter. The affection faded. His energy shifted like a man who had already made up his mind, but left you guessing. And that guessing, that's what kills you. The waiting, the questioning, the slow suffocation of your own self-worth as you try to figure out what you did wrong. But here's the truth, Queen. You didn't do a damn thing wrong. He didn't change because you messed up. He changed because he thought he could. He thought you'd sit there in the dark, waiting, hoping, shrinking yourself just to keep him around. But let me tell you something about your fire. No one can dim it without your permission. You see, men like him, they love to play God in your life. They love to believe they have the power to dictate when you shine and when you fade. But the moment you wake up, the moment you realize that your light never depended on him in the first place, that's when the game flips. That's when you stop being the girl who waits and start being the woman who walks away. I know what you're thinking, but what if I stay quiet? Won't he forget me? Move on. Let me ask you something. Why are you afraid of being forgotten by someone who treated you like you were nothing? You don't need to fight for a place in a life that didn't value you in the first place. You don't need to prove your worth to a man who only sees it when he's afraid of losing it. And most importantly, you don't need to set yourself on fire to keep him warm. Society has fed you a lie. They told you that the more you react, the more it means you love him. That anger, sadness, begging, it proves your feelings. But the truth? Reacting doesn't bring him closer. It pushes you further into the trap. Imagine this. You're standing in front of a man holding a match. He flicks it, waiting for you to catch fire. He wants your rage. He wants your tears. He wants the satisfaction of knowing he still controls your emotions. But what happens when you don't burn? When you just stand there, calm, unmoved, indifferent? That's when the fear sets in. That's when he starts to panic. Because now you're unpredictable. Now you've taken away the one thing he thought he had: control. And let me tell you something about a man who thrives on control. Nothing confuses him more than a woman who refuses to be controlled. Your silence is power. Your stillness is a storm he never saw coming. You think you need to cry, scream, prove your pain? No, my love. The real revenge, the real lesson, is showing him that you don't need him to shine. When you stop reacting, when you stop giving him free access to your emotions, you start reclaiming yourself. You start asking, what do I want? What makes me happy? What does my peace look like? And that's when you realize, he was never the source of your light. You were. So stop handing him the match. Stop standing there, letting him dim you, control you, make you feel like you are only valuable when he decides you are. You are valuable because you exist, because you breathe, because you are you. You want to know what happens when you pull back, when you don't chase, when you let him feel the coldness of your absence instead of the heat of your anger. He notices. Oh, trust me, he notices. Because the moment you stop reacting, the moment you stop feeding his ego with your pain, the silence gets loud. The absence of your love, your warmth, your energy, it creates a void he didn't prepare for. And when he comes back, knocking, testing to see if he still has access, you don't answer, because you, my love, have stepped into your power. And once you do that, once you fully understand your own worth, you never let anyone dim you again. So, here's what I want you to do right now. I don't care where you are, what time it is, or what excuses your mind is trying to give you. Write this in the comments. I refuse to let him dim my light. Not next time. Not someday. Right now. Because the moment you type those words, you're making a declaration, not just to me, but to yourself. You're saying, no more begging, no more shrinking, no more waiting. You are the sun, and no man gets to decide when you shine. So write it, feel it, live it, and stay with me, because we're just getting started. This is the moment you reclaim yourself. Number 2, let go or be dragged. The choice is yours. There was a time when he made you feel like home, like you belonged somewhere, like you were safe. You believed in him, trusted him, let him in, heart, mind, and soul. And then one day, he flipped the script. The warmth was gone. The messages became shorter. His energy shifted. Suddenly, you were standing in a house you helped build, but the doors were locked from the inside. You knocked, begged for an explanation, replayed every moment in your mind, asking yourself, what did I do wrong? Let me tell you something, Queen. You did nothing wrong. The way he treats you is not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of his limitations. And yet, here you are, dragging a dead relationship behind you like it still has life in it. Enough. You need to let go. Not for him, for you. I know it feels impossible. Letting go isn't some switch you flip. It's like pulling yourself out of quicksand. Every instinct tells you to struggle, to reach back, to fight. But struggling only makes you sink deeper. The way out? You stop fighting. You accept what is. You stand up and you walk away. You see, society has lied to you. They've made you believe that love is about endurance, that the more pain you tolerate, the more worthy you are of love, that being the ride or die will make him see your value. No, Queen, that's not love. That's self-abandonment. And if you keep waiting for him to realize your worth, you'll wake up one day and realize you forgot it yourself. Acceptance doesn't mean saying, it's okay that he treated me like this. No, it means saying, it happened, and I refuse to let it define me. It means looking at the wreckage of what he left behind and deciding that your future is too valuable to spend picking through the ashes. I get it. Your heart wants to understand. It wants closure. It wants to know why he did what he did. But will knowing really change anything? Will an explanation bring back the love that's already dead? Will an apology undo the nights you spent crying into your pillow? The days you walked around feeling invisible? No. So why do you keep chasing an ending that has already written itself? Letting go isn't about pretending you don't care. It's about choosing your peace over his presence. Imagine this. You're carrying a heavy bag. Inside, there's all the pain, all the confusion, all the wasted energy spent trying to make sense of him. And here's the crazy part. You've been carrying this bag for so long, you don't even realize you have the option to drop it. But what happens when you do? At first it feels strange, empty. Your hands feel too light. But then you breathe. And for the first time in a long time, Your body isn't weighed down by someone who was never meant to stay. That's what acceptance feels like. It's choosing to stop resisting reality. It's deciding that you deserve better, even if better starts with being alone for a while. And let me tell you something powerful. The minute you truly let go, the energy shifts. He will feel it. Oh, he will feel it. Because men like him, they don't expect you to walk away. They expect you to stay stuck, waiting, hoping. But when you stop reacting, when you stop chasing, when you stop making excuses for his behavior, that's when the game changes. He'll check his phone, expecting your message. Silence. He'll try to bait you, waiting for you to break. Silence. He'll sit there, wondering, why isn't she trying anymore? Why isn't she fighting for me? Because you're done fighting for someone who was never fighting for you. And that's the moment you take back your power. The moment you realize his absence is not your loss. It's his. So let me ask you, Queen, are you ready? Are you ready to stop drowning in emotions that won't change a damn thing? Are you ready to stop carrying pain like it's some kind of proof that you love deeply? Are you ready to let go? Then do it. Right now. Write in the comments, I choose peace over his presence. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Because the second you write those words, you're taking the first step toward a life where your happiness is no longer controlled by a man who didn't deserve you. Say it. Write it. Believe it. Number 3. You're the plot twist he never saw coming. He thought he had you figured out. He thought he could pull away, act distant, treat you like an afterthought, and you would chase. He thought he could ignore your calls, keep you guessing, disappear for days, and then show up like nothing happened, and you would welcome him back. He thought you would keep breaking your own heart just to prove your love for him. Oh, but he had no idea who he was dealing with, because what he doesn't know, what he could never see coming, is the moment you wake up. The moment you stop reacting, stop explaining, stop giving him access to the best parts of you while he does the bare minimum. That's when the story changes. That's when you become the plot twist he never saw coming. You see, men like him, they thrive on knowing you'll always be there. They get high off the idea that no matter how they treat you, you'll still answer. They love knowing that the smallest breadcrumb of attention will keep you hooked. But what happens when you flip the script? What happens when he sends that half-assed hey after days of silence, and you leave him on read? What happens when he suddenly misses you, and instead of running back, you keep walking forward? What happens when he realizes you no longer react, no longer chase, no longer give a damn about his games? That's when the fear sets in, because now you're unpredictable. Now you're no longer his safety net. Now he has to sit with the reality that the woman who once moved mountains for him wouldn't even cross the street to hear his excuses, and that terrifies him, because he thought he had more time. He thought he could come and go as he pleased. He thought he could test your patience, push your limits, disappear and reappear like you were some revolving door. But instead, he comes back to a closed door, locked, bolted, sealed shut. You see, Queen, nothing haunts a man more than a woman who finally sees him for who he really is. He never expected you to detach. He never expected you to stop needing him, because the power was never in his hands. It was in your reaction, your energy, your attention. And now he's left standing in the ruins of the game he played, while you've already left the field. You are the plot twist. You're the woman who rises from the ashes of disappointment and builds herself into something unshakable. You're the woman who realizes that losing a man like him was never a loss. It was a blessing in disguise. So let him sit there in confusion. Let him wonder why his usual tricks don't work anymore. Let him stare at his phone, rereading old messages, trying to figure out where he lost control. While you're out living, thriving, smiling in ways you haven't in months, rediscovering yourself, pouring into your passions, becoming the version of you that he will never have access to again. Because that's the difference between a woman who is waiting for closure and a woman who is the closure. And you're done waiting. So, Queen, write this in the comments right now. I am the plot twist. Not next time, not someday, right now. Because the moment you say it, you own it. You step into the power that was always yours. Say it, write it, live it. Number 4, when you let go, he falls, not you. He thought you'd never leave. He thought you'd keep holding on, keep waiting, keep hoping. He thought he could drag you through his inconsistency, his half-hearted efforts, his pathetic excuses, and you'd still stay. Because that's what you've done before, right? You forgave, you adjusted, you shrunk yourself just to fit into the tiny space he was willing to offer. But he was dead wrong. Because the woman he thought he could string along, she doesn't exist anymore. The woman who cried herself to sleep over a man who couldn't even send a proper text, she's gone. And what he's about to realize, what's about to hit him like a truck, is that the second you truly let go, he's the one who falls, not you. You see, men like him, they don't appreciate what's in front of them. They take and take, assuming you'll always have more to give. They think their laziness won't catch up to them, that you'll never get tired, that your love will always outweigh their disrespect. Until it doesn't. Until one day, you wake up and realize you're done carrying dead weight. And that's when everything changes. That's when the universe shifts. Because now, you've stopped fighting for a love that never fought for you. Now, you've stopped making room for a man who only ever gave you crumbs. And the moment you let go, he feels it. He feels the absence of your energy. He notices the missing warmth, the missing attention, the missing you. And at first he won't take it seriously. He'll assume it's temporary. He'll test the waters, throw a breadcrumb your way just to see if you'll bite. But when you don't, that's when the panic sets in. Because the truth is, he never expected to lose you. He thought he could push you to your breaking point without actually breaking you. But now, you've done the one thing he never thought you'd do. You walked away and didn't look back. And let me tell you something. There is no bigger regret for a man than realizing he lost a woman who finally chose herself. But don't let that stroke your ego. Don't let it fool you into thinking his regret means he's changed. Because the kind of man who plays games with your heart, he never changes. He only panics when he loses control. And your job now is to keep walking. Not for him, not to teach him a lesson, for you. Because every time you let go of a man who was holding you back, you stand taller. Every time you choose peace over his presence, you rise. Every time you refuse to reopen a door that should have stayed shut, you become the kind of woman he will never have access to again. So let him deal with the mess he created. Let him sit in the silence he thought he wanted. Let him stare at his phone, debating whether to reach out, knowing deep down that even if he does, it's already too late. Because you're already gone. So, Queen, write this in the comments right now. I choose me. I let go. I rise. Not next time. Not someday. Right now. Because the moment you say it, you claim it. The moment you claim it, you live it. Say it. Write it. Feel it in your bones. Number 5. Your silence is his worst nightmare. At first, he wanted your love. Then, when he got comfortable, he wanted your patience. then your forgiveness, then your tolerance. And finally, he wanted your suffering. Oh, he'll never admit it. But every time he ignored your calls, every time he left your messages on read, every time he pulled away just to see if you would chase, that was intentional. He wanted you restless. He wanted you desperate. He wanted you to react, to cry, to yell, to beg for clarity. Because as long as you were losing your mind over him, he knew he still had control. But what happens when you stop playing? What happens when he sends his little breadcrumbs, his late night, "I miss you," his lazy, "Hey, how have you been?" And all he gets back is silence. That, Queen, is when the game flips. Because your reaction was his fuel, your emotions were his entertainment. But now he's standing in the middle of the stage, waiting for applause that will never come. And that silence, it is loud, louder than any argument, louder than any desperate message, louder than any attempt to make him see what he lost. Because here's the truth, he already knows what he lost. He just didn't think you'd figure it out too. Your silence isn't weakness, it's a funeral. It's the moment he realizes the version of you that loved him, forgave him, fought for him, she no longer exists. And men like him, they can handle your anger, they can handle your tears, but what they can't handle, your indifference. Because now he has to face himself. No distractions, no chaos, no proof that he still has a hold on you, just the cold, brutal reality that he is no longer relevant in your world. And trust me, nothing tortures a man more than knowing he has lost all access to you. I know what you're thinking, but if I say nothing, won't he forget about me? Won't he just move on? Let me make this clear. If silence makes him forget about you, he was never yours to begin with. A man who truly values you won't play games that force you to react. A man who truly cares won't need to test your patience just to feel wanted. Silence doesn't push away the right man. It only pushes away the ones who were never meant to stay. And when you understand that, you win. So, let him sit in his confusion. Let him stare at his phone, rereading old messages, wondering why you've gone so quiet. Let him realize too late that the woman he once had wrapped around his finger is nowhere to be found. And you're too busy thriving, too busy healing, too busy living the life you should have been living all along. So, Queen, write this in the comments right now. My silence is my power. Not next time, not someday, right now. Because the moment you say it, you own it. The moment you own it, he feels it. Say it. Write it. Live it. Number 6. Hit him with his worst nightmare. Your rise. You were supposed to stay broken. You were supposed to sit there, drowning in your pain, waiting for him to come back. You were supposed to keep replaying every conversation, every excuse, every half-hearted, "I'm just not ready" speech he fed you. He thought he had time. He thought he could leave you shattered and you'd still be there, waiting, hoping, keeping a place for him in your heart, just in case he ever decided to come back. But what he didn't expect, you moved the hell on. And Queen, that is his worst nightmare, because men like him don't fear losing you. They fear losing control over you. They fear the moment you wake up and realize that his absence was never a loss. It was freedom in disguise. Look at the world's most powerful women. Beyoncé? Jay-Z cheated. She turned that pain into lemonade, built an empire, and let the world watch her rise even higher. Jennifer Lopez? She walked away from Ben Affleck the first time because she refused to wait around for a man who couldn't commit. And Rihanna? She left a toxic, abusive relationship and came back as a billionaire. You see, queens don't beg, They build. And now, it's your turn. But let's talk about that voice in your head, the one still whispering, what if he comes back? What if he actually changes? What if I was the problem? Let me tell you something. If he truly cared, he wouldn't have left you doubting yourself in the first place. He wouldn't have played games with your heart, made you question your worth, or taken your love for granted. Good men don't put you in a position where you have to heal from them. The only reason he'll come back is because he feels your energy shift. He'll sense the moment you stop waiting for his apology. He'll notice when you stop watching his stories, stop reacting to his breadcrumbs, stop feeding his ego with your pain. And that's when he'll panic. He'll test the waters. A random "miss you" text. A lazy "how have you been?" A half-assed attempt at re-entering your life, hoping you'll still be that same woman who once dropped everything for him. But here's the plot twist. She doesn't exist anymore. The woman who begged? Gone. The woman who stayed up at night wondering if he cared. She left the moment she realized she deserved better. And now you are untouchable. He will feel your absence. He will regret taking you for granted. And he will have to live with the brutal truth that another man will love you better. You know who else had to learn this the hard way? Justin Timberlake. He fumbled Britney Spears. He fumbled Jessica Biel for years. And now, he's writing apology songs, begging for forgiveness, while these women are out living their best lives. Men don't realize what they had until it's too late. And you're going to make sure it's too late. So, hit him with his nightmare. Be the woman who no longer cares. Be the woman who rebuilds herself so high that he can't reach you, even if he wanted to. No closure, no explanations, no final conversation, just silence, just success, just you rising. So, Queen, write this in the comments right now. I am the one that got away. Not tomorrow, not someday, right now. Because the moment you say it, you become it. Say it, write it, own it, and let's keep going. Number 7. When he crawls back, you're already gone. He thought you'd be waiting. He thought he could leave, play his little games, entertain other options, and then, when he got bored, when he got lonely, when he realized no one else could love him like you did, he could come crawling back. And for a while, maybe he was right. Maybe in the past, you forgave too easily. Maybe you answered his late-night texts, even when you swore you wouldn't. Maybe you let him back in because your heart still held onto the good moments, the memories, the what-ifs. But not this time, because this time you're already gone. And that is his worst nightmare. You see, men like him don't believe in losing you. They believe in pausing you. They don't see relationships as something to cherish. They see them as something they can pick up and put down whenever they feel like it. He thought he had time. He thought he could leave you on the shelf while he went out and explored his other options. He thought he could ignore your worth, and you'd still be there, patient, loyal, forgiving, when he finally decided to come to his senses. But he was dead wrong, because while he was out there playing, you were out there healing. While he was out there wasting time, you were out there growing. While he was out there thinking you'd always be his backup plan, you were out there becoming a woman he could never access again. And now he's desperate. Now he's realizing that the random girls, the shallow connections, the temporary distractions, none of them compare to you. Now he's regretting it. Now he's scrolling through old pictures, reading your old texts, replaying your laugh in his head, thinking about what he took for granted. Now he wants you back. But here's the catch. it's already too late. Because the woman he's crawling back to, she doesn't exist anymore. The woman who would have given him another chance. She left the moment she realized her worth. The woman who once cried herself to sleep over him. She doesn't shed tears for men who treat her like an option. The woman who used to beg for his love? She loves herself now. And here's the real plot twist. He thought leaving you was his choice. But you moving on? That's yours. And the thing about men like him? They always come back. Not because they love you, not because they've changed, but because they finally feel what you felt. The absence, the loneliness, the silence. And now he's scrambling, now he's realizing, now he's panicking, but you don't care anymore. You see, Queen, nothing destroys a man's ego more than realizing he's lost access to a woman who once gave him everything. He can send the "I miss you" texts. He can call. He can try to pull you back in. But the best response? No response at all. Because the strongest thing you can ever do is let him feel your absence. He expected anger. He expected you to cry, to ask why, to beg for answers. He expected you to hold on to the hope that one day he'd finally treat you right. He expected to walk back into your life whenever he felt like it, without a single consequence. But instead, you disappeared. Instead, he's the one sitting by the phone, staring at your name, wondering why his usual tricks don't work anymore. And that will haunt him, because he thought he had you forever. But forever doesn't exist for men who take women like you for granted. So let him crawl back. Let him feel the regret. Let him finally understand that you were never his to play with, because the woman he lost, she's already walking into a future where he doesn't exist. So, Queen, write this in the comments right now. I don't go back. I move forward. Not next time. Not someday. Right now. Because the moment you say it, you own it. The moment you own it, he feels it. Say it. Write it. Live it. Number 8. He thought you'd always be there. Now he's begging. He thought he had you forever. He thought he could disappear for days, ignore your texts, treat you like an afterthought, and you'd still be there, waiting. He thought he could leave you hanging, come back when it suited him, and you'd welcome him like nothing ever happened. Because that's what you did before, right? You forgave him, again and again. You gave him chances he didn't deserve. You explained away his coldness, excused his neglect, held on to hope that one day he'd finally see your worth. But guess what? That day never came. Because men like him, they don't realize your worth until they've lost you. And now he's begging. Now he's watching your glow from a distance, feeling the emptiness where your love used to be. Now he's regretting every time he ignored you, every time he made you question yourself, every time he acted like you were replaceable. Now, he's the one who can't sleep at night. He's the one checking his phone, staring at your name, wondering why you've gone so quiet. He's the one fighting the urge to text you because the silence is driving him insane. And here's what he never saw coming. You don't care anymore. You see, men like him never expect women like you to actually leave. They expect you to stay, to keep proving your love, to be there no matter how much they take you for granted. But the moment you stop chasing, the moment you stop caring, that's when the game flips. Because now he's the one feeling your absence. Now he's the one craving your attention. Now he's the one stuck in his own head, replaying everything he did wrong. And that is his karma. You were the best thing that ever happened to him, and he was too blind, too arrogant, too self-absorbed to see it. He thought you'd always be an option. But you don't wait for men who can't make up their minds. So let him regret it. Let him watch from the sidelines as you become the woman he will never get to touch again. Let him sit in his misery while you move forward, happier, stronger, untouchable. Because here's the truth. A man who takes you for granted deserves to lose you. A man who plays with your heart deserves to feel what it's like to be without you. And when he comes back, when he tries to slither back in with his half-assed apologies, his "I miss yous," his fake promises of change, you let him beg. You let him feel the weight of his own actions. You let him realize that he was the one who lost something rare, something valuable, something he will never get back. Because you are already gone. So, Queen, write this in the comments right now. I was never the one who lost. I was the one who got away. Not next time, not someday. Right now. Because the moment you say it, you claim it. The moment you claim it, he feels it. So, queens, this is your moment. You're no longer waiting, begging, or hoping for a man who didn't see your worth. You are the one who got away. Let him regret it, let him beg, let him feel the weight of losing you, because you're already rising. Comment below, I choose myself. Say it, believe it, live it. And if this hit home, like, subscribe, and share this with another queen who needs to hear it. We're building a movement of unstoppable women. See you in the next video.